I was 3 when my parents, Oliver and Wendy Spark, had moved to Sun Springs, Florida from Tampa, which was on the other side of the state. Sun Springs was an urban community, was also home to a few engineering and defense contract companies. One company, Terra Technologies, was one of the largest, and also my father's employer. They had picked him up after he had lost his job. After working at Terra for 6 months, my dad met Nell White. He had light brown hair and was of average size, and looked like a traveled man. Nell had moved to Sun Springs when I was 5 and gotten a job at Terra as an engineer. They soon became friends, and he quickly became a good friend of the family. Most of his family was either dead or didn't talk to him. That, and the fact that my parents were only children, made him look like an uncle. My childhood was relatively normal. But a few months after we moved to Sun Springs, I met Jessica and Alexander, or as everyone called him, Xander Robinson. Jess's hair was a dark hazelnut brown like her brother's, though his was just a little bit darker. She had deep emerald green eyes, unlike her brother's, which were pale blue. They liked to hang over at my house, as their father had died in a car accident when they were young, and their mom was a bit of a workaholic. Their quiet house often drove them over to my place. My parents would often say that we were like siblings, only blood separated us. When I was 7, my parent got me a cat named Cooper. He was gray with some white splotches on his back and face. He had a tail that was nearly as long as he was, and was very soft and bushy. He was very friendly, but a little shy around strangers. I was homeschooled until I was 8. Then my mom had me start doing some classes at a school called Riverside. She wanted me to get out and be more social. It helped that Xander and Jessica went there as well. The school was in a rough part of Sun Springs, but it was the closest one. As I said, my mom wanted me to be less withdrawn and get to know more people. However, at Riverside, I only had a few friends, and I wasn't one of the popular kids. I wasn't athletic, and I didn't care about sports, and was a bit of a nerd. I liked to play video games, read, and do just the typical geeky thing. This often made me the target of bullying. There was one kid in particular that was the worst. Seth Ferguson. He would always shove me, push me around, often hit me in the stomach and face, pulled various pranks on me, and made fun of me in front of the other kids. One notable time that I still remember was when I was 9. I was standing out in front of the school waiting for my mom. Suddenly I felt something cold being poured on the top of my head. I turned around and Seth was behind me pouring a can of soda on me. "Hey guys, check this out!" One of his cronies called a few more kids over to look at the spectacle that was my humiliation. I dropped my books, spun around, and swung at his face. I missed, and he punched me in return. He and everyone else burst out laughing. "Look at this wimp!" I felt my face turn red and tears collected in my eyes. Rage and anger built in me until I felt sick. Relief washed over me when my mom pulled up. I gathered my books and hurried to the car, the kids jeering following me as I ran, and as I shut the door, my mom asked, "Spark, what happened?" "Nothing," I growled. "Let's go." "Dear, is that soda?" "I'll be fine. I just need a shower." "And an ice pack." I growled as she said that. When I was 10, Nell and I went on a hike in a local nature reserve while my parents were out for the day. It was March in Florida. That meant it was nice and warm, but not hot. I still wore a light jacket that was black, and a pair of jeans and a nice red shirt. The reserve was quite a few main trails and a spiderweb of branching smaller trails. We were hiking down one of these unofficial trails instead of the main ones. They had a lot more wildlife and were a lot more fun to explore. We could hear a few birds in the trees around us, but other than that, it was quiet. As we were hiking, Nell and I discussed how clouds and weather work. An hour into the hike, I noticed that Nell looked focused and tense. I didn't know why, and at one point, he suddenly stopped and grabbed my shirt, forcing me to stop as well. "What is it?" I saw a hole appear in a tree next to me, followed by a sound akin to thunder. It took me a brief moment before I realized we were being shot at. Neil grabbed me and we started running, dodging the shots as we did. Some came so close that I later found 3 holes through my jacket. Neil pulled me aside and we ducked into some cover in a ditch. He then pulled out some kind of pistol out of his pack and started firing back. The rounds from his gun didn't sound like normal rounds though, and even though I couldn't see who was shooting at us, Nell's shots must have hit the targets. Yells of pain and anger rang out and there were less shots being fired at us. Nell told me to get up and stay with him. I did as I was told and we ran. As we ran, Nell kept firing and bullets kept hitting all around us. I couldn't think. All I felt was my heart racing and my labored breathing. Fear and terror pulsed through my blood as we ran. We were less than a few hundred feet from Nell's car when a man with sunglasses, a gray suit, and a black tie stopped in front of the car. He was holding a short sword with glowing green edges that made a light buzzing noise. It was then my brain began to work again and thoughts flooded my head, making me freak out. What the heck is going on? Nell took a hilt from his pack. He pushed a button on it and a blade extended out of the hilt. It was, at most, about 2.5 feet long and straight with double edges. He then pushed another button and the edges began to glow a bright blue color. The man in the suit charged at Nell and he swung his sword in a diagonal cut. Nell parried the attack and swung at the man's left side. The strange man blocked with his sword and attacked in a stabbing motion at his leg. Nell jumped and did a twist in the air and shot out his palm the instant he landed. Some kind of blue energy blast discharged from his hand. The shot of energy blasted the man to the air into a tree trunk. After he hit the ground, I saw that the man had a blast crater in his chest. He was dead. I saw Nell yell at me something along the lines of, "Move your butt!" But I was so stunned by what I had just seen that I didn't. This meant Nell literally had to grab me and toss me into his car. I felt like I had just run a marathon. I was on the verge of hyperventilating. My hands were shaking, my heart was like a battering ram against my chest, and sweat was running down my face. "What the heck happened back there?" Nell replied with an eerily calm manner. "We stumbled on a small band of men that worked for a man, Darren Nightshade, but he is infamously known as Shade. He is not a nice person, to say the least. I will explain more later. Luckily, these men were not looking for us. I didn't know what they were doing in the reserve, but I'd rather not know. We spooked them, so they do not know who we are, but it's safe for us to go back home." A few minutes of silence passed before Nell asked, "Tomorrow is Saturday, right?" "Yeah." "You can come by my house in the morning and I will explain everything then. It is very important that you don't tell anyone what you saw, okay?" I simply nodded. Nell dropped me off at my house. It was in the evening and my parents weren't going to be back for another few hours. I considered calling the cops, but then again, who would believe me? I decided to trust that my friend was going to explain everything to me tomorrow.